Øystein,
Ja, Ulf.
did you know that back in the days I was a music video director?
I've heard some rumors.
I had like have like an artist name, Ulf Dog.
You do? Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
So I'd start the music videos like Ulf Dog presents,
Mm-hmm.
and then a music video.
How did it come up with Ulf Dog?
Oh,
thing?
that's actually a very good question, and it's a bit embarrassing. So, when I was a teenager, I fell in love with American rap and hip hop culture,
Mhm.
and I was very like interested in the music, like the clothes, the well, everything, like the culture in itself, and these were black minorities from poor neighborhoods in New York and Los Angeles. I'm from a suburb of Trondheim in Norway, so but still, it's sort of like it spoke to me, and so I would listen to music and watch films like from like now I've forgotten all the names, but like Spike Lee films or whatever, and then there was this film called Friday.
Mhm.
With Ice Cube in it. It's a great film, and Chris Tucker plays his buddy, and the movie is great. But they made a parody of it. The Wayans brothers, who did like spoof films,
Okay.
made like a spoof of all the different hood films that came out in the 90s. So it was called Don't Be a Menace to South Central While Drinking Your Juice in the Hood. I think it was to sort of implement all the names of of all the different menace to society and so forth. And in that scenario, the character of Chris Tucker was sort of like parodied by Marlon Wayans as sort of like a weed-smoking maniac by the name of Lock Dog, because he was loco, and I just thought that was so cool. So so he was so then I can be Ulf Dog,
Yeah.
and that's basically it.
Yeah. Nice.
And so there's more to the story. I can go on for a bit.
Please go on.
I think it's still interesting. It's still relevant. More like background of the Ulf Dog, because before I was Ulf Dog, now hold on to your horses. My artist name was Thunderman, because my last name is Thunder, and in English that sounds a whole lot like thunder. So in the early 90s, I think before my hood movie period, I would make techno music on my computer, and under the artist name Thunderman, and I became quite good at it. Actually, it was. I sent like demos into like the radio station, and they played it on the radio station, and they even called me from the radio station and say, Ulf, can you come to the radio station and make like one of your songs live on radio during like the radio show? And this was like national broadcast radio in Norway, so it was like a big deal. Now I'd started watching the hood films, of course, but still I was making this techno music. I guess that doesn't make any sense, but I was also like using like scratch sounds and trying to be a bit cool. So I went to the radio station and set up my computer. I was very much influenced by the whole hip hop culture by then, because I'd like been drawing like a huge marijuana leaf on top of my computer screen, because it was like the big old screens, not the flat screens.
Yeah.
I don't know what the radio thought of that. Didn't ask.
Yeah.
Ironically, I did not smoke weed or anything at the time. I didn't even touch alcohol because I was so afraid of losing control. But that's a different episode.
Okay.
Getting back to me at the radio station. making a remix of like a Norwegian Christmas song. And it went fairly well, you know, and then played more of my songs on the radio, on national radio, in Norway, on a Saturday. It was pretty damn awesome. But at the end, or midway through the radio show, these other guests came, and it was a rap group. It was called Gatas Parlament, Street Parliament. It's a Norwegian rap group, raps in Norwegian. And they came into the studio, you know, and they were exactly the same age as me, but they looked like, like superstars. Yeah. Because I was just some nerd with the computer, and they were cool people from Oslo who came all the way to Trondheim to be on the radio show. And, you know, they got to do graffiti on like a small corner or something in the radio studio, and they were really cool, and they played their music, and it was hip hop, and it was so much cooler, you know, because I was making some sort of techno fusion hip hop weird stuff. And then at the end, when we played my song, the radio host said, well, Gatas Parlament, what do you guys think of Ulf's song? And they said like, well, it's interesting enough, but it's not hip hop, so we think it sucks. This is more or less exactly what they said. So you know what happened that day, Øystein?
You stopped making music.
I stopped making music. And I pursued my movie-making career.
Yeah.
So Gatas Parlament terminated my path to fame as a techno music making nerd person. And a couple of years later, they asked me to make a video.
The same people?
The same exact people.
And did they know?
They didn't know. I did not tell them that I was the kid in the radio studio until last year.
Wow.
And it goes with the story that they were really embarrassed. And they also told me that they had never thought that, why would the radio host ask them to give their 2 cents about my song? So they were sort of taken aback. What do we say? And then obviously because they were rebels, they could just shit on everything. So, but it was it's interesting to the story that my creative birth was in music, terminated by the same band as the band that started my music video career, which is what this episode is sort of about. So in 2001, when I'd started my film school and was like in student television and everything, my friend Halvor was asked by Gatas Parlament, because they were in sort of like the communist youth party in Norway, if he could make a video. And I'd met them a couple of times because we were at different hip-hop venues, because I was hip-hop Ulf, you know, Ulf Dog. I did not dare tell them, I think at the time, because I was embarrassed that I took my name from a spoof American film, which probably wasn't very credible in communist hip-hop environments at the time, but that's besides the point. So we made a music video in 2001, and you know, it was quite good, and we actually won second prize at some festival. So we won an iPod, and me and Halvor didn't know what to do with it, so we sold it to a guy. We have Walkmans, like mini discs. What do we need an iPad for? iPod.
Yeah.
Sorry, iPod.
Was it a red one?
No, it was the white.
Gray.
This was like
The first one.
the first one. It was
The big one.
the big one
With a hard drive.
with a hard drive.
Physical hard drive.
Yes. But so that started sort of like a relationship with Gatas Parlament, where I would make, together with Halvor and eventually without Halvor, lots of music videos for Gatas Parlament. When at the time I thought like we were having fun, and it was like fun to make music videos, right? And it's like a nice way to experiment with form and all that. And when I in 2010, when I had my first son, I sort of stopped making music videos because I just couldn't find the time. And now, in 2018, I decided to start making music videos again. So this past weekend, I started recording a music video with Gatas Parlament, of course, just like in the old days. But a couple of things during this the shooting of the video made a couple of things that I hadn't thought about at all quite apparent. I'm crazy because I was up to the point of making the video. I was content that this was just going to be for fun. Now, so I know the guys in Gatas Parlament very well. They're my friends. So they're friends. And I asked my good friend Christian if he would come along as a photographer to shoot the video with me. And also because I wanted to, what's it called, test myself or like expand my own limits. I wanted to be in the video.
Yeah.
Because, I've started dancing hip hop, which is also a part of sort of like trying to actually own the culture that I'm so in love with as a teen.
Yeah.
So I wanted to dance in the video. So I wanted to be a part of the video. And so all of this was with good friends of mine. And I asked a good friend if we could use the museum in Drammen as a location. So that was also a friend. And I asked another friend if we could use their basement as a location. And it was all friends. But the evening before, I freaked out. What if the video I'm making sucks? What if I, as an actor, suck? What if it just falls apart? What if it's no good? And it got to me like big time. And it was very interesting because up to that point, I was like, this is just going to be for fun. We're just good friends hanging out on a Saturday. And we're shooting a video because we have a camera and we can shoot a video because we know how to do that. And it became something so completely different because, so I said, okay, so let's meet at the museum at 10 o'clock. So I'm at the museum and I'm obviously a bit anxious and I'm like, but relax, Ulf, relax. We're just going to have fun. But so I don't know how many rappers you know, and maybe they're like everyone else, but they're never on time. So it's...
I guess so.
The clock is like 15 over and then like, we're driving from Oslo now, we're getting there. And I'm like, okay, so I can start rigging and like preparing the locations and that's fine. And then it's 11 o'clock and they were supposed to be there and they're not there. And then they're 15 past and they've stopped for coffee.
Oh no.
And I'm like, what? But we were supposed to meet at 10 and now you're not even... And we're just friends hanging out, Ulf. But I'd completely forgotten. And I was like in the mindset of sort of like, well, this has to be great and good and fantastic. While I was clenching my wrists and sweating like crazy, and like, this has to be great. And I was so like nervous that morning. I was like, I couldn't like pay attention to anything, and was like, all that was gonna happen that day was I was gonna hang out with friends, with good friends of mine, and it's sort of. My friend Christian, who is a great photographer or cinematographer, he sort of latched onto my paranoia and insecurities. So he became stressed, like, am I a good enough cinematographer? Am I taking the right pictures? Is it good enough? Is Ulf happy? Because, I was not projecting anything positive into the room. I was just a mess. And interestingly enough, the band, they were just enjoying themselves because, it's fun. They were making a video. So they didn't seem to get sort of taken aback by the whole thing, at least not in the beginning. But I think after a while, it sort of just seeps in everywhere.
Yeah.
And we were getting behind schedule, and we had cats in the video. Who puts cats in videos? It's like animals, children, and boats.
Yeah.
That's the ABCs of don'ts in filmmaking, I think. But we had cats in the video, and the cat we were supposed to have in the video had disappeared. So that was like a major stress item. And I completely forgot the premise of the whole thing was to just have fun.
Yeah.
I just threw it all to side just because I wanted it to be successful. I wanted it to be great. I wanted to feed my ego with like something marvelous that people have never seen before.
But this was different from the last time you made a music video was
Now this is where it gets fun.
Okay.
It's always been like this. But
interesting.
the 40 other times I've made music videos, I did not know that.
Yeah.
The 40 other times I've made music videos,
That's very
I've
interesting.
been through hell and insisted that I was enjoying myself, but not acknowledging that I wasn't, because I was so caught up in the end result.
Yeah. It's like this reminds me of my life somehow.
Your life is a music video? That's so
Yeah.
interesting.
But I mean,
think
like, from a work environment, like I've done so many, like a video. I've been to so many events shooting the stage.
filming like,
in like
a live event.
Multiple cameras, and I've been like a producer for the camera unit, or what you call it. So, and sometimes it's just me, and I'm responsible for the camera. On bigger productions, it's like 4 or 5 cameras. And in the beginning, when I started doing it, I had really like low self-esteem on it. So I didn't understand the importance of actually being that there was a person that was the producer, like looking over everything, that everything worked. So I was putting myself into the different positions at the same time as I was trying to, to produce it. That was one thing that has only to do with me not feeling important enough to say, okay, I need to have the overview here and running the whole thing. So it was a constant, in a constant flight mode in a way, like how to survive this event, And I was, telling myself it was fun.
But
exactly.
It wasn't.
It was fun because I was busy, but it wasn't fun because I enjoyed it. It was fun because I didn't have time to think about how much fucked up my life was, in a sense. So. Yeah, but eventually, gradually, it started to shift because I got used to those kind of events, and I also went through my own transformation at the same time. So I think that the last time I was a producer like that, we had 3 different cameras, we had 1 live editor, and I was just walking around, making sure it worked, but it worked. So. And the last few times, I haven't done it in a couple of, 1.5 years now, but the last few times I did it, it was almost like something had happened, in the sense that it didn't touch me in the same way. Also because I actually had put it up in a way that was making sure that if it worked, I actually didn't have to do anything.
Yeah, you weren't
in that
micromanaging
in that
everything
position.
else.
I didn't have to micromanage anything.
No.
But then I also had to go through a phase where I had to deal with being that guy getting paid to not do anything.
The fraud.
Yeah. Yeah, it just reminded me of that. Like, and also now, if I get into new jobs, it can be the same thing. That I think what you're saying is that when we face those kind of things in where we are in our life now, in like going through that transformation, it's so much more obvious when you are not aligned with yourself than it was before. It used to be difficult to spot because you were always not aligned, you know.
Yes.
But now when things like that happen that pushes you out of alignment or balance, it gets more obvious. Not in the moment maybe, but in when you kind of realize you're not in alignment, it gets so obvious, like, whoa.
So when I sort of in the evening on Saturday when we were done, and I was just lying comatose in bed looking up at the ceiling, I was like, I must never make a music video ever again because that was painful.
Yeah.
And then I also realized that that's exactly what I have to do.
Yeah.
But I have to be honest about why I'm making the video, and I have to be honest with myself what I find enjoyable and what it triggers within me, because the music video is a means for me to actually wake up. But if I insist that I'm having fun when I'm not, I am still fast asleep.
Yeah.
Then I'm just torturing myself over and over again, doing something that I claim I want to be doing and that is enjoyable, but I'm not enjoying it. And I think that's it will fit many things that we do in our lives.
Yeah.
That we do just because we insist that we are, either by like projection of society or like saying that this is fun, this is enjoyable, this is what I want to do with my time. But have we really like looked into why, or is this really fun? Or
what do you think about the time, in the sense that in your own transformation, like I can see how with my work that I do now, like I have a full-time.
Yeah, you're working full-time?
Yeah, full-time now. And I honestly can say that there's like a really huge part of that I really enjoy. But at the other, because I think it's probably the most meaningful project I've ever done in TV that has given me the most meaning, if I am honest on a deeper level.
Yeah.
But there is also this other part of me that knows that there is a next step, you know, that okay, I need to take the next step. So when I go into that focus, I see how, you know, the time is expired. What do you call it? It's out of date. What I'm doing is out of date in a sense that, okay, there's a next level that is
it doesn't serve you anymore.
It doesn't serve me anymore.
No, yeah.
It has served me to come to that point.
Yeah, but it's time to let go and actually move on. Yeah.
So I think just the transition phase from that is really interesting. Like, because if I say to myself that I want to go to the next level, which I can vision is some kind of place in the future where I want to aim at, you know.
Yeah.
Which I know cannot happen right now because there is actually kind of things that needs to fall into place.
Yeah, there's a path that sort of needs to lead you to the point of, yes.
So just in my life right now, I'm in a kind of conflicting mode in a way where I see how, okay, there are certain things that I see in the horizon that I want to move forward to. And I know I have to kind of make those choices.
Yeah.
But also I realize there's a path to get there.
Yes.
So I guess I'm afraid of making those choices because I am also afraid of which choices I need to make on the way. Like
yeah. You're starting to do the journey before you make the journey.
yeah,
This is very. I do this on a regular daily basis. I'm good at doing the journey before I do the journey.
yeah, exactly.
So I was going to say one thing, which I think is, which I really found meaningful was, I really like Jordan B. Peterson, and he's talking about when you're sort of projecting yourself into the future and setting yourself goals, to set the highest goal you can see sort of possible for yourself. Your highest sort of possible aim.
Yeah.
Always aim for the highest one. Never like lower. And then project yourself towards that direction. You don't need to know the path. You need to trust the path. And the path might lead you to a totally different place.
Yeah.
But if you just say, I'm just going to settle for this. So I could be a international techno making nerd.
It could be like
or
Nietzsche or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Or I could be just working at a record store selling records because I like listening to music.
Yeah.
Now, these two things are both goals.
Yeah.
One is more easily achievable than the other.
Yeah.
That's exactly why you're going to choose the highest possible one, because you might still end up working at the record store, but you need to actually project
There's
yourself to
someone
actually
saying,
get somewhere.
don't remember who it is, that says the biggest problem or something people have is that they set goals, but they set it too low, and they reach it.
Yeah, because if it's an easy goal, you're just gonna no problem.
Yeah, but like my situation right now, like okay, I want to break out of certain box. Like I see how I can work my way through the traditional career path. Like I can change from one position to another one. I can grow within the business I'm working.
Yeah,
in.
like work the corporate ladder.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes,
and
you can.
That's sort of meaningful because it brings me in a logical thinking. It brings me closer to the goal outside of that. So does it mean that if you focus on a goal in the future that you really want to get to or become, does it make it easier to choose what's right in front of you?
Yes, I think most definitely it does, because actually this is because earlier today I had a meeting with an assistant editor who's going to be assisting me on a project that I'm working on, and we were just talking. He was a great guy, and he'd been working for a year. And I just say, like, so what do you want to do? And it's like, where do you see yourself in the future? And I say, I want to be an editor. And I say, okay, yeah. And then I felt like sharing some insight that I've had as an editor myself, which was when I started editing, I took any job I could get because I just wanted the affirmation and sort of like the good feeling of being wanted. But that also meant that I didn't set myself any goal. So my goal was like, so I want to be an editor. I want to be a good editor.
Yeah.
And then I achieved that goal, but I didn't have any goal higher than that. And that made me sort of like just float about, just doing editing jobs for whatever came along. Whereas if I said, okay, so I want to edit feature films, that's what I want to do. When you then get a job offer, you will see, does this serve my path towards editing a feature film or does it not?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you have a much clearer path. Whereas if your choice was, I want to be an editor, and you have two different editing jobs, well, they look practically just the same. But if you have a higher goal, you actually can set those two things and say, okay, so this job is editing reality, and this job is editing a sitcom. I believe a sitcom is closer to a feature film than a reality show about something. And I think it's I very sure, 100% sure, if you set yourself the highest goal possible, I still think that's like a super awesome advice for everyone. You'll know what to do next just because you have a direction.
It's true. It's just I just realized, and you know, as I mentioned before we started recording, I've been to this goal mapping workshop this weekend, which is just about these things, and it's just like I've lived for the past few years in sort of like not setting goals mode, because
no goal mode,
and because I had a business and everything crashed, and then I started waking up to a higher reality, and through that process, the crash came about by reaching my goals, you know.
Yeah.
So that's why it crashed, because I reached it. I just wasn't ready for what I reached. So it sent me through this process where I just realized I had to completely surrender to like going through this dark forest in a sense. Okay, I remember specifically thinking that, okay, I realized that there is an inner path. There is something I need to figure out with myself. I just have to surrender every idea or concept of getting anywhere in the outer world. Just stop it completely and completely surrender to the path, the inner path. And I know it might take a year, it might take 5 or 10 years of hell, but it's the only option I have, because I realize I need to throw out the garbage. I need to get out all the bullshit and figure out what's true, you know.
Yeah.
So that sent me through a long period of anti-goal modes. So focusing more on coming into the flow of things and getting to know my intuition and take choices based on that. That was a huge process. And I got introduced to this guy, through personal development, Brian Main, that has this goal mapping system. And this weekend, I was revisiting his event. I've seen it before many times through filming it. And I also tried to use his systems before, but I remember I wasn't ready, like in the sense that I cannot make any choices of setting goals right now, because I'm not.
You're in no goal mode.
Yeah, and in no goal mode. It's not going to work for me. And through this event, he also mentioned it on stage that it's like he has had, you know, through spiritual movements, there is different ideas that you shouldn't set goals because you need to listen to spirit and take choices in the flow and all these things. So there is like these huge debates where is goal setting actually a good thing, you know, because it can take you out of flow. But as he explained it as well, like just not setting goal is actually a goal. Just putting yourself in a meditative state with no goals is a goal. So you always, it's like that servant of or the human autopilot, the subconscious mind will always work for you, but it only works if you program it, if you direct it. So it's like if you try to avoid that process, you will basically always be lost in a sense, because you're always trying not to use the navigation system because you have this kind of pride or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
That there is like, oh, I need to go deeper, so I should not use my tools, you know, because there must be something deeper. Holy shit. I just had insight right now.
No,
Yeah.
we need goals, but we also need breaks.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Or what's a pause.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, I love Rob Bell, and he has this. Now I've forgotten. There's like a Hebrew word or something for the rest. You know, the seventh day. But the point of the creation story is like there's 7 days where God creates everything. done it. What's happening on the seventh day?
Rest.
It's rest.
Yeah.
So the whole point is that if you're just setting goals, you will exhaust yourself. You also need pauses and breaks, and you need to do nothing.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I think the longer you postpone your breaks, your pauses in life, the bigger the pause is gonna need to be.
That's very true.
Because if you've been working like 24/7
yeah.
for 6 years, it's gonna make you need like a year of doing nothing. Because you're just,
it's very true.
you don't sort of there's no quiet space to actually check in. And I think that's again back to the setting yourself the highest possible goal, which I still think is very solid, good, excellent advice. Is where does it come from? Now, if you just in the mind, it might get a bit, warped into, I will want to become the richest man alive or something very like extreme.
Yeah.
But whereas if you check in, actually stop and listen, you will find that there exists something within you that actually wants something good.
Yeah.
For the world.
And Brian has this way of saying it, or like the tool that you can use to check if your goal actually is.
Oh, there's a tool?
There's a question.
Is there an app?
There's an app. No, there's like.
There's a question.
I don't remember the question.
This is horrible.
I don't remember exactly how it says it. But here is something in the line of, is this goal to the best for me and the highest good of all? And
that's a good question.
Yeah, and if you ask that question to your goal, you will know if it's just an ego, like, oh, I should achieve this to get rid of this problem right now.
Yeah, so if I want to be the richest person in the world, is this goal serving me and the rest of mankind?
I think there's a yes. Oh, no.
Is that a yes? Yeah, maybe.
Could be.
Yeah. No, I think that's actually listening. Listening is important. And I think back to the Ulf Dog Presents Music Video Director Guy.
Yeah.
I wasn't listening when I was making videos. And I think that made me have negative experiences that I label as positive. Claiming that I was having fun when I was not. Saying I was enjoying myself when actually I was going through a self-made hell.
Yeah.
Where other people might even enjoy themselves, but also accepting and taking responsibility to the fact that I was poisoning the well.
Why do you think you convinced yourself it was good?
Well, I think it's just by the sheer fact that it must be fun, right? It's a music video. How can that not be super fun?
Yeah.
It's it's music. It's light. It doesn't have to be. Like, you don't actually need the story to be like super tight because the music is there, and I think I just sort of like weren't paying attention, and I guess if we take it a step further, because I also know in myself that the music video is not my goal.
Yeah.
And I think if I made it my goal, that would be a cop-out as well, because that is not my highest goal.
Yeah.
To make music videos, because I want to create something that comes from me. And the music video is sort of creating something on top of someone else's creation. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, and it will be quite serving at times, but I also think there is a time for actually checking in with your own creation and daring to be creative.
That's true. But one of the things that also I've been realizing is how I've been talking to myself about wanting different paths in, like within film making, or but I always kind of ended up with the things that I've been comfortable with. And I remember I told you this a few months ago, like I suddenly realized that, yeah, that makes sense, because I never even imagined actually having one of those other positions that I told myself I wanted. I never imagined actually being in those shoes, you know?
No.
I was just telling that that would be a better idea. That would give me something more. So right now also I kind of realized that, like, I'm an editor in television right now, and I've started exploring for the last few months or half year that, okay, maybe I should do something more strategically in the direction of my path. So I've been like into the, directing, thinking about that, or like post producer, or what's the next natural step I could take with the skills I have and with the network I have and all these things, you know. And the idea of directing came to me, and I know people I can talk to. I know I can raise my voice, but I realize also what's holding me back from doing that is, there is one thing is the question if that's a good idea, because maybe I should do something outside of television, like the things we have been talking about.
Yeah.
Other ideas that is not within the mainstream. So ping-ponging between those is an excuse not to, you know, make a decision. But also, I see how I do not have the mental picture of being a director. So I cannot actually picture it in my mind for real, being that. It just comes from this idea that it would be better than what I have now in terms of using more of my creative self, or going the right path and all these things. And that's kind of depressing in a way, for some reason, that I always find ways to hold myself back, but that I also actually really hold myself back in the sense that I don't dream as in picturing it happening. I just dream as, oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, you're just conceptualizing.
Yeah.
I do that all the time.
Yeah.
It's great. So I was gonna make a suggestion, or a theory. What if the universe will grant any wish?
Ooh.
What you actually want will actually come true. But when you flinch, when you change your mind, when you choose something else, universe gets confused.
Yeah.
What is it you want?
It's so true.
And I think if we all just take a moment and check in with ourselves, we know this to be true.
Yeah.
And so, for instance, you know, I'm extending the house.
Mm-hmm.
And I went back and forth. Should we extend the house? Should we find another house? What should we be doing? And for some strange reason, the house extension did not happen. I was like, why doesn't it happen? I wanted it to happen. But at the same time, I was wishing for a million other things, confusing my direction.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the neighbor was complaining about my extension of the house taking away his sunlight or something. I was like, oh, this is so unfair. I wanted to extend the house. Why is the universe throwing me this? But what was I asked in the universe for? It was like, do I want this? Do I want that? And I think that's like the core thing. And when I actually decided, I was like, okay, I have to stop this. I want to extend the house. This is what I want.
Yeah.
What happened? It happened.
That's how easy it is. When you become clear, it's easy.
Yes. No, I'm not saying because there's still a lot of,
Yeah.
obstacles and stuff. But when you have a direction, you actually know. So when the question comes, do you want to do this or do you want to do that? And then you can sort of look at, what is my highest possible goal? Well, it's a house. Is it a house or is it a car? If it's a car, no, because I'm on the direction of house right now.
Yeah.
And it's pretty banal and sort of silly from one point of view, but it's actually quite profound, because if we actually project ourselves in a specific direction and actually go for it, there is no stopping us.
Yeah. And that's what I like so much about the event that I was this weekend. The goal mapping system that Brian Main has is kind of designed to help you to actually, focus on that path that you decide to do, because the mind works like we have two different brains, like the left brain and the right brain. And if I remember correctly, the left brain is the logical brain, right?
Yes.
And the right brain is the creative brain.
Yes. It's a 50-50 chance that you're right and right.
So everything that is logical, that is linear, and that is kind of the thinking mind is through the left brain. And everything that is kind of intuition, creativity, and all these things is the right brain. And the left brain basically thinks in words, like sentences.
Yeah.
And the right brain thinks in pictures or concepts in the bigger patterns. So, and there is no better or worse. You need both, and they're meant to harmonize. And also, this system helps you to kind of design what you actually want in the sense of actually using words to write down your goals, to write down the house, and to write down the whys, and to help you focus on that. And then also you do the same thing with creating pictures that matches those words.
Because you're sort of stimulating both parts of the brain.
Yeah.
That's
and
smart.
that process is really fun. And he's teaching us to corporate and everything. They love it because it's so fun, because you kind of create your dream, right?
Yeah.
And who doesn't want that?
Yeah, who doesn't want that?
So, so he also tells stories that, people that don't, in corporate, people are thrown into it, they are not there by their free will, in the sense that they have to meet up at this seminar that the work sent.
Yeah. It's not by free will there.
Yeah, so it's kind of, but even they have fun with it. But they also can draw the pictures, write the words, put it in a drawer, and never look at it again until a year or 5 years later, then realizing, everything happened, But even more strongly than if you actually use it. I've taken on this challenge for myself right now, that I'm going to do this for 30 days. So I do it every morning, that I actually look at the maps that I've created, and I repeat the words, and I feel and visualize the things that I have written down. And every time it takes me to a better place, because it reminds me of the direction that I.
Yeah, it keeps you centered.
Yeah.
This is my path.
So it's so much about if you not set that goal you're talking about, the really high goal, you really have no direction for your life. So you get distracted by everything all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the world is quite distracting.
Yeah, it is.
It seems almost designed to distract us.
Yeah.
I had this, so you go to the store and you're just going to get a bottle of water. But when you come into the store, they have Coca-Cola and Pepsi, and they have all these other things screaming at you pick me, pick me. Now, if you haven't set your goals straight, you'll buy just about anything at the store.
Yeah.
But if you know what you want, you can just go into the store, get it, and go out again. But you have to set a goal. And if your goal is to go to the store and get a bag of potato chips, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you go to the store and it's like, I have to be more healthy, I have to have a better diet.
Yeah.
There's nothing concrete to this goal. So you're just going to be like, what's that?
Yeah.
And then you're looking around and then you're like, I don't know, maybe if I buy a cauliflower, what do I do with the cauliflower? I don't know. Do I cook it?
Reminds me of when we are shopping together.
In Sweden?
Yeah.
Yes. We cannot, because we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
We don't have a goal for shopping in Sweden. Now, for all our international listeners, in Norway, people go to Sweden to buy cheap products like food or beer or alcohol or cigarettes.
It's like crossing the border and drive 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's our neighboring country.
Yeah.
I think it's fairly common in all countries. You go to the neighbor country to get cheaper stuff. I don't know.
I don't know.
But me and Øystein
Does
been
Swedish
going.
people come here to buy cheap
No, they
things?
go to Denmark, I think. And the Danes go to Germany, and the Germans go to Poland. And the Polish, I don't know. They make it themselves. I don't know. But we didn't have a goal. We just went there because society said you can go to Sweden and buy cheap products. We bought a big piece of cheese.
Yeah, I put it in the freezer.
I ate it. I ate it. We eat a lot of cheese in the family. You know, with vegetarians, so it becomes a lot of... cheese is... it's good, man. Cheese is the cheese. So I think by becoming more... what's it called? Alive in your decision making, and more, you'll actually know what you want, because if you actually reflect upon it, you'll actually be able to set yourself a goal. But I think it's really important, like you said, to actually set aside the time to actually find out what you really want.
Yeah.
Because if you're just sort of working in the trenches and just like going for it non-stop, that's not going to be your goal. That's just going to be whatever is projected on you at the time.
That's true.
Like, okay, so if you've been watching advertisements for cars, you'd be thinking, well, my goal is to get a new car. That might not be your goal. It might also be your goal, but I think actually finding some peace and quiet, taking a break from everything will make things clearer. And now I wanted to say something about goals, because this podcast has a goal.
Yeah.
Now, our goal for this podcast is to have Jim Carrey as our guest.
Yes.
Now, if we follow the path towards that goal, we will actually have a chance at achieving that. But if we just say, no, we just want to do a podcast because we like talking about different stuff, that's not going to get us anywhere.
Not making decisions.
Not making decisions.
Not meaning anything.
And I think there's something about this, like, so you make a decision and then you deal with the outcome.
Yeah.
And the process from making the decision to the outcome, that's your learning path.
But, yeah.
And if you're projecting yourself just sort of like, I'm just gonna sit in the couch, that's not gonna. Then the process is real easy, and it's not gonna like be much learning involved, not much growing.
It's
I
also
guess.
what we're doing right now, in the sense that we chose to come to this place, and right now we're dealing with it. Yeah.
Shit.
But I think that's. But is it because, like I mentioned for you before we started, like this experience I had this weekend with the arrow.
Yes, leaning against an arrow.
Yeah, there is an exercise that is. There are different like personal development speakers that use this kind of this powerful challenge, which is that during the first day of the event, you start kind of realizing more and more the direction you want to go, and also what is the fears that gets in your way.
Oh, yes, the fear.
What?
Yes, the fear.
Yeah, that's fear.
Oh.
And when I was at this event this weekend, I was kind of comfortable with that thing. And my girlfriend had already said she's not going to do it no matter what. So that's okay. So she's just
Observing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She ended up doing it. But I was comfortable with the idea because I've done it before. And the thing is that you are going through the challenge of facing your fear, the thing you have decided to confront in a way. And you're doing it through physically actually breaking the arrow. And the arrow, you point to your throat, just the soft spot under the Adam's apple. So the arrow is pointing at that. I still can feel actually pain here because, and it's a few days ago.
And then you're leaning against the arrow.
Yeah. And everyone has their own strategy to do that, because this is the point where you meet your own strategy for facing fear.
Yes.
So everyone is reacting differently. My reaction was focusing on going into this place of awareness, of like peace, and just wait for everything else but me to become ready. And then was kind of waiting for a cue, and there wasn't really any cue, so I tried to start to go, and I felt the pain in my throat instantly, and holy shit, maybe I'm gonna die if I do that. And I tried to walk into it, and it's too much. I can't do it. And then I stopped, and I took a break again, and started focusing on coming back to the peaceful state. And I tried again, and then the same thing happened. And I was confused because I thought this was easy. I had the strategy to confront fear because I've been doing all this inner work. I should know this stuff, but it's impossible to break the arrow. It's too much. Maybe I'm going to die if I do it. And then I was working for this in my experience, felt like for a long time. But eventually I moved a little further to the arrow so I can feel the pressure. And I started from that position. And then with the pressure, I was able to make the choice of moving, into the arrow. And then also I was changing my body state to like
posture,
more, posture and breathing and everything to be able to do it. And then once I started doing it, like for real, I knew it was going to work. So I just went through it. But it's actually the confusing or kind of weird thing about fear is always harder before you start, in a sense, like at least in my experience, like once I start, I can see it starts moving in a sense, like, so this I kind of started reflecting on over the next few days, and I realized how much this is my strategy to confront fear is to wait. And nothing happens in that waiting. And I make tons of excuses or stories and ideas for what should be the outcome, and also why it cannot happen right now. And I end up being in that spot in conflict with whether the direction is the right one or wrong one, or whether the timing is right or wrong, and all this kind of confusing things in a really like doubtful state. And I can see how much that's my life right now. Like, at least up to that point, I feel that there's huge changes like right now but it was yeah, kind of embarrassing as well, because I see that my strategy to life is being a spiritual person, in the sense that the identity of being that guy that rather use the inner path to you know, hide yourself instead of to use it as your power.
Yeah.
And that's not someone I want to be, you know.
Wow.
Holy shit.
It's like checking in with fear and like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, it's still there.
Yeah.
I'll just go step back a bit because don't want to antagonize fear, because fear will, I don't know, punch you in the face or something. Fear will kill you.
Yeah.
Don't want to do that.
No. I see how much I've done this probably my whole life. Like I go a direction and it start working, and I either stop or I shift direction, just to make sure that it doesn't get too far, in a sense, like in actually getting to where I want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess, like, you know, if like it's an uphill to get to the top, it's gonna be harder than walking on flat surface or downhill.
Yeah.
So you have to walk up
Yeah,
that incline, and when you get to the top, you're actually you could.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, as Jim Carrey would say it so eloquently, there's nothing there.
Yeah, that's true.
Because the journey was getting there.
Mm.
The process of learning and growing was getting there. There's no prize at the end.
Yeah. But also, when you said it like that, I also think the prize would be to celebrate the achievement of getting there.
Yes.
That
I think that's
also like that Sunday you talked about. That's the rest to actually celebrate as well. To
Yeah.
recover and to start the next mountain. You know?
Yeah. But
Yeah.
celebrate your achievements
Yeah.
and grieve your failures.
Yeah.
But don't give up.
Yeah.
Set your highest possible goal. But remember, check in to see if it's serving yourself and mankind. Because building concentration camps is a goal, but it's
Yeah.
it's not like it fails on all points when it
Yeah.
comes to.
You could also, of course, debate that it had served mankind, but
Well,
we don't need to go there necessarily.
it's that's taking us down like quite the
Yeah.
rabbit hole, right? But I
Yeah.
completely agree. Everything that's taken us to this point was actually necessary to get us here through the here and now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
saying it shouldn't have happened is actually destroying this moment.
Yeah.
Because this
It's
moment
true.
is the result of everything that happened before it.
Yeah.
But everything that's happened doesn't exist anymore.
True.
It's not there anymore. But so I'm going to make more music videos. But I also have to be true to myself. Is that my highest possible goal?
Yeah. Is it?
No. But like you, I am afraid of the fear that's connected with actually looking into what do you really want?
Yeah.
What do you really want? But it's, and I guess that's like you talked about, we're here on Earth, randomly fallen into this world. But we chose this. And I guess we chose it knowing the path.
Yeah.
Forgetting that we will forget the path once we get here. And then having fun figuring it out.
Yeah.
And you can do it billions of times, man.
It's true.
But also at some point, it's time to sort of acknowledge that we are playing a game and it's time to wake up.
I think
Not
it's
take
time.
it so
I
seriously.
think it's time to wake up. So, I have one question to our listeners.
Listener question, that's good, man.
Do you know Jim Carrey? Can you send him an email?
Can you put us in connection with Jim Carrey? Because
That
where
would
we're
be
projecting.
great. Yeah.
That's where we're going.
Yeah. Should we I think we should come visit him because that would be most fun.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
of
yeah,
course,
yeah, of course.
if he want to come to Norway, that's fine too.
I'm not gonna be like, no, you can't come here.
Yeah.
You're always
so
welcome.
this weekend there was a costume party celebrating, and you had to dress up as someone. Who do you think I dressed up as?
Who did you dress up as? Did you dress up as Jim Carrey?
Yes.
What Jim Carrey character did you dress up as?
I tried. I once say it was
I
successful.
must remove the word try.
But Ace Ventura, because I felt my hair was fitting that.
You were the rock and roll detective.
Yeah.
All righty then.
Yes. It was fun.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Infinitely fun.
Infinitely fun. I'm looking forward to have Jim Carrey as our guest.
Yeah.
So, okay. What's your conclusion on the whole movie making music
Well, so
video?
music video directing is.
Yeah.
I have now become aware of the fact that I wasn't enjoying making music videos, and I thought I did.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to enjoy making a music video.
Mm.
Now that's a goal within the frame of actually owning that
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
Because I have been pretending that I enjoyed making music videos. I owe it to myself to actually enjoy it.
Mm.
So I'm going to
Yeah.
be throwing myself into the fire again.
Mm.
I'm going into the fear and I'm going all in.
I like that.
Um,
And I just want to add that I think there is like a lot of things that this is kind of the same but different, but a lot of the things that when you find yourself in a situation where you hate what you do,
Yeah.
and you try to get away from it, I think it's impossible to get away from it until you can be at peace with it.
yes, you have to make peace with it.
Yeah, I think that the same thing applies here. Even though this is something you say it's fun, it's the same, or should be fun. It's the same thing that you need to, in order for you to outgrow it.
That was good.
Yeah,
It was a goal, right?
yeah,
I need to complete this journey. The music video director guy,
True.
Hoof Dog presents.
Yeah.
A journey.
I'm looking forward to watch your new music.
I have a
video.
mustache. I'm a cop.
Nice.
I looked so cool. Even I was amazed.
Yeah.
And I have very high standards, especially to myself.
It's the cover photo for this episode.
It is.
Yeah.
What do you know? Are we good?
We're good.
We're good.
Infinitely good.
Infinitely good. The smooth place.
The smooth place.
Wait.